All right, so let's get started. It's about time. Welcome to this webinar about CRIBWISE and inventory management, how we use it, and how we use it safely. My name is Joakim, and I'm here to guide you through this webinar. Some comments before. Safety is the first priority here with Sandvik. So since this is a webinar, I hope you all know your emergency exit. It's if something will happen at your location. With me today, I have one of our direct partners, Valmet. Krister is here to join us today to talk about their way of working with CRIBWISE. Since safety is a key feature at Sandvik, I also invited Elvira Cedergren, who is from Sandvik DPA and head of cybersecurity. She will also talk to you guys about cybersecurity as part one here. Since this is a series of webinars, she will most likely be here again to talk more about cybersecurity. You're all muted, and questions you will post in the chat. And for your information as well, the webinar will be recorded. So inventory management fundamental, the acquisition, control, and use of consumable and returnable items. So one cornerstone in inventory management is acquisition. So how do you handle your procurement today? Procurement can be very time-consuming if you do not automate it. CRIBWISE can be connected to external systems, and we just launched our first ready-to-use ERP connection with Monitor ERP. In the best of worlds, it should be as easy as order, receive, load, and use the items. Another cornerstone here is control. If you don't have control over your inventory, that will lead to many potential issues. What is the current inventory level of a specific item? Where have they been used and how much? Operator will most likely spend quite some time looking for uncontrolled inventory. Even a very cheap item can be found out that it's out of stock and could cause big failures in your production. The 5 V's, who, what, when, where, and why, is a great thing to ask yourself sometimes. How do we use the consumable and durable items, such as tooling, spare parts, personal protective equipment? The first thing many people think to have in their inventory system is just consumable items. CRIBWISE can also control returnable items, such as gauges, measurement devices that are used and then returned to be serviced in a periodical way or to be calibrated. So pick, apply, replace, and return is the normal flow for how to use tools. The system setup, what we have from CRIBWISE, is containing 3 different levels. First, we have the CRIBWISE starter. That's a cloud only, so just the software. The software CRIBWISE starter cannot control any type of hardware equipment. It's also just run from a browser, so there's no thing to be installed on a physical device. The CRIBWISE Professional can control vending equipment. CRIBWISE Professional is also installed on a PC that will be able to control the physical hardware. CRIBWISE Enterprise is when we have larger accounts that are in need for many licenses from the professional side. Also, the CRIBWISE Enterprise could be an on-premise solution, so everything is installed on-prem at the customer site. What type of inventory management solution should you choose? To choose the right one could be quite tricky, but also quite easy. Start from a physical location and a process. The rest is a matter of security and how much efficiency you would like to gain. To make the right decisions could have a major impact on productivity and profitability. Start already today by understanding what you have in place as we speak. How to address user processes and preferences. Here we will navigate through some of the common processes and preferences that it's available today. So there are multiple ways of starting to address your process and preference for shop floor management. Do you have an outdated software that can't be upgraded? Due to the outdated software, it might not be used and becomes underutilized. Do you have a hardware but not utilizing the software for different reasons? Do you have a super high-tech based solution but need help how to use it? Do you have a traditional tool crib with a tool crib manager that most likely are doing things on an old-fashioned way? Do you have an open inventory where each operator is responsible to make sure it works? Or maybe you do not have anything. Then it's about time. From CRIBWISE, we have a bit of different capabilities in this area. CRIBWISE can be used as a software with no hardware connection. This is mostly common for companies with high trust and proven processes. It will of course help if the company is smaller with limited number of shifts, few workers and smaller facilities. And of course, no rules without exceptions. CRIBWISE largest single account, a major company in the larger area, they're just using the software. For companies where a defined process is hard to follow, hardware can be added to force the operators to follow the process. When a hardware is added to control how access to items is done, the accountability and security increase. To use hardware as a part of the process, it will require some investment if multiple hardware is needed. Of course, the need of hardware sits with the company. Some small companies use a lot of hardware, while some larger companies doesn't use hardware at all. With CRIBWISE, you will have the flexibility to choose if hardware is needed or not. With that said, I would like to hand over to Krister from Valmet to say a few words.
Thank you, Joakim. So, for you who don't know, maybe I should introduce myself first. Krister Sigren, logistic manager at Valmet in Karlstad. And for you who don't know Valmet, we have over 200 years of industrial history. We are about 17,000 employees worldwide. And for you who have heard Valmet before, you might recognize us with tractors or forest machines, but that was in the past. Today, we are manufacturing and selling complete product lines for board, paper, and tissue machines. And in Karlstad, we are developing and manufacturing our tissue machines. We also have our pilot machine here, where the customer can try different configurations, their own fibers and chemicals that they're using in their productions, either before they purchase the machine or if they are about to change anything in their process. They can do the testing in our facilities, because we can configure it and our machine to the exactly configuration that the customer have in their machines today, or that the machines that they are about to purchase. So why we choose CRIBWISE? We are in a big process project and changing our ERP, and that's what started everything. And we really soon realized that our master data needed a lot of updates, and that would be a big work to do that and then maintain that master data in the future. So we said that we wanted a supplier independent solution. We looked at our vendors today, what solution they had, but nothing suited us, and then we had been stuck with suppliers software, and we faced the risk to have to use a lot of softwares. Then our machine workshop were about to upgrade their old solution, and they chose CRIBWISE, and that was the first time I heard about CRIBWISE, so I got curious about that. And we had the first demo of it, and the first impression was that it was really easy to use. That was the first impression. So that's the main part of why we chose CRIBWISE. And also it is felt that it would be good to have the same system in the machine workshop as we have in our central warehouse. Even if they are not connected, we can help each other and learn from each other when we're using the system. So how do we use CRIBWISE? In the central storage, we started up with the cloud solution because that suited us best at the moment. And as you said, and when we installed CRIBWISE and started to use it, we changed from that owning our items and articles by ourselves to a consignment stock with our main suppliers, and that has been really good for us, because then the suppliers, they come here once a week and fill in their articles all by themselves. They have their own login to CRIBWISE, so they are doing the receiving and the put away and the storing and everything there, so we don't have to manage those things. And they also maintain almost all item data by themselves. We are doing some parts, but mainly they are doing all that by themselves. So the only thing that we are doing there, that we are registering everything that we pick and consume, and for that we are using one of these Zebra handheld devices in the central storage, and I would say that's almost as easy as it is to use a Shop Express in the supermarket. I have one older guy in my team. He's 62 years old now. He was a bit skeptical to this in the beginning, but now when he have used this for 1.5 years, he says that this is the best thing that has happened for a long time. And CRIBWISE have helped us to automate the supply chain for the consumables and tools that we are managing here with the consignment stock there, as I said, when we are only registering what we are picking and consuming, and the supplier to come here and refill everything when the reorder point is triggered. What we do in the admin portal is that we are managing the stock, so we have the right amount always on hand. And the stock optimization tool there has been a great help for us to optimize, so we don't have too much or too little of everything. And with the reports, we can get the data of which items are most frequently used, so we can store the items that are most frequently used on the same shelf or in the same cabinet, so it speeds up the picking process. For the reporting, sometimes we are using the report that are built in CRIBWISE. I think they are visual and quite easy to use, but we have had some cases where we would like to dig a bit deeper in the data and analyze something. And for those cases, we have used Power BI, that is one of our reporting tool, and just imported the data in Power BI, because there can do a lot of more measurements, I think. And for those who are not using CRIBWISE on daily basis, we have this report in Teams where they are visualized and automatically updated once a day. The next step for us is to integrate our new Cardex storage machine with the CRIBWISE. That will hopefully be done during the end of this week. And so we can, we can store everything in this big machine, so you don't have to go around in all our open cabinets that we have today. And also we are looking the borrow function, as Joakim mentioned there, where we can keep track of the expensive items that we have. We have some really expensive laser equipment for measuring, and some tools that we are sending around the world when we're doing service on our machines that will be away for a long period of time, so we can keep track of them. That's our next step. So that's what for me. Thank you. I will pass over to you, Elvira.
Yes. Thank you very much, Krister, for some really interesting real world insights. It's always nice to hear some real customer stories and see how CRIBWISE actually changes and improves your day-to-day work. So my name is Elvira Cedergren, and I work, not surprisingly, with cybersecurity at Sandvik and with CRIBWISE. And I will now take some time and minutes to talk about the people part in security. So I think a few of us has, or very few of us, has been able to escape the reality of digitalization and its positive upsides, but also sometimes the downsides. And lately, there has been a lot of buzz around a term called Industry 4.0. I assume you've heard it. And there is digitalization said to be one of the key aspects to actually be the future of the industry. And I, of course, agree. But with that being said, a lot of production facilities are still afraid of connecting to and using internet and cloud solutions. And is that a valid fear? Coming from someone working with security? Yes, sometimes, but if we're not going digital, there will be visible growth restrictions and you will be left behind your competitors. And actually, when using CRIBWISE, you could reduce tooling and equipment inventory cost by as much as 20%. And those are resources that you can use for stimulating your growth, for example. But there are also a lot of laws and rules and regulations, and we need to adhere to them as well, of course. And some of them are really hard to follow if you're not using digital tools. And another thing I see is that there's a bigger interest from insurance companies for the customers to actually handle their cybersecurity correctly. So in worst case, if you're not handling your cybersecurity correct, you will not be able to insure your company. So what we do know is that the cost of securing your operation is far less than actually the cost of a breach. And it is unfortunately only a question of when you're going to get breached and not if. So going digital gives you both great new benefits that we've heard earlier here, but also some new headaches, and one of those are security. But luckily I'm here and I will give you some tips on what to do and what not to do. So what can we do to minimize the fear of IT interfering with the OT environment? And if the term OT is new to you, it means operational technology here. And we need to start with the basics. So for example, did you know that only 3% of security spending is focused on the human layer, for training example, but more than 85% of the breaches, cybersecurity breaches, are traced back to humans. And what did that tell us? So we're investing a vast amount of money on technology to prevent cybercrimes and lower cyber risk. But we look past the greatest risk, which is actually ourselves, the human risk factor. And this risk is usually much cheaper to lower than buying expensive technology. And while we at CRIBWISE do what we can to sell a secure product to our customers, in the end, it often comes down to a single person clicking on a link or accidentally do something else wrong. And I am not saying that we should not have proper security technology in place, but I do believe that we need to be better at combining them with the right kind of training. Because in the end, we can spend millions on the right security technology, but if someone clicks on that link, I'm sorry, but then it's really hard for a smaller company to contain that malware in time, because it only takes a matter of minutes before it has spread to the rest of the company. So what are some of the common wrongdoings then? Of course, we want to focus on the production. We don't really want to focus on cybersecurity. And we want to make operators and mechanics' lives easier so they can focus on things that brings value. And one common thing we see at shop floors is the sharing of accounts, because it's easy, it's convenient. And this means that all the operators are using the same single credentials for a computer, for example. And this gives us no traceability if something would happen, an incident, for example. And what is even worse is that the password used is often a very weak password. I don't know if you've heard of winter 2020 or similar. Time to change that to summer 2022 soon, I think. But jokes aside, these types of passwords are short, they're easy to crack, and they are rarely changed. And what cyber criminals do is that they're using passwords lists that they can find on the internet, and they will do so-called password spray attacks. And I promise you that passwords like winter and summer and 2022 so on, they will be found in a couple of seconds. And the usual response when I talk to the production facilities, when I say these things, why are we sharing accounts, is that, well, this is only for this computer. It is not important. It is only for this machine. But what we later usually see is that this particular computer is on the same network as the production machines, as the other production machines. So if said computer would get a virus, the whole production can be shut down if a computer worm would spread to the other production computers and other equipment. Not something I think we would like. So just as you probably talk about safety with your staff, you need to talk about safety when using IT. So education is key here. And why do we need education? If it is not evident from what I've said and what my colleagues said earlier, is that we need to have this risk-based mindset. So when using machines and tools on the floor, I do believe that most companies are good at talking about safety and risks of using these sometimes dangerous machines. And since we're digitalizing, it is only fair to say that this risk-based mindset that we have on the shop floor and close to the machines also need to be applied to other areas, such as the computers and their systems. So just as we need to use our safety goggles, we also need to put on our invisible safety goggles when using IT and OT. And what is important in your company for you is not always evident for your staff and colleagues. So it is very important for you to map out and see what are the important, for example, information as recipes, measurements, financial data. What essentially do you need to secure? And talk to your organization and say, okay, you handle this recipe daily. You need to treat that as in this way, because this is really important for us in our business. And when it comes to training, the sky's the limit. And doing education and communication and be creative. And here are some common tips I would like to give you. So you can have posters and there are a lot of free material on the internet. Use common communication channels. So if you're doing weekly meetings, use them. You can also simulate phishing emails as training. So some key takeaways here. Go home, map out your most vital information. Where's that information and how do you protect that? Educate your staff. Start simple. Do not share accounts. Use strong and long and secure passwords. Multi-factor authentication is preferred. And pick a trusted cloud vendor. Talk to your vendor and see, are they working with security and how are they working with security? So that was everything for me today. I'm not sure if we have any questions. If we have, we can talk about them now. I don't think so. Joakim, do you have some final words for?
Yes, sure. We have no questions. So thanks for that, Elvira, and thanks, Krister. Yeah, not some questions right now, but if you have questions later on, post them in the chat here or send us an email or whatever. I think it's important, the security part. We have had these type of thinking when we have set up CRIBWISE as well, where we can create strong password and we need like specific accounts and so on. But more to come. But also thanks for joining this webinar. We're doing a series of webinars a couple of times per year. So if you have any other things you would like us to talk about that's important for you, please let us know. We can guide you and your companies to be even better with doing this. I'm super happy to have customers here as well to talk about their journey. But any type of feedback or topics for next webinar will be very, very appreciated. So thanks for listening in. Have a great day, evening, or night. See some people from around the globe here. So thanks for spending some time with us here and all the best. Thank you very much.